What's up guys, Kyle here again, and today we're gonna take a look at a guitar that comes in at just $199. Is it firewood, or is it a great instrument for the beginning guitarist? This is the Donner DMT-100. Let's do it! Alright guys, hope you're doing great out there today. If this is your first time here at my channel, my name is Kyle, and what I do is I take awesome high gain related guitar gear, I record it with a simple setup, and I give you guys the unprocessed audio on your end. So if you're into E-stand or thrash riffs, drop C hardcore riffs, and dudes with constantly clammy hands, ew, you're in the right place. Consider hitting the like button and subscribing on the way out so you don't miss any more of my stuff. Thanks! Alright guys, so today we have a guitar here from the folks at Donner. This is the DMT-100 model. This thing comes in at $199. Actually, at the time of filming this video, it's $169. And that is honestly ridiculously cheap for an instrument. And if you guys aren't familiar with my channel, I review gear at all price points, starting from the very bottom all the way to pretty much the very top. But one thing that I am an advocate for personally is budget gear that doesn't suck. So when Donner reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to check out this guitar on my channel, I said absolutely, because if this thing can be any good for $199, I think it's gonna be a win. And if you are a beginning guitarist, a beginning musician, this is an extremely low point of entry if it turns out to be a decent instrument. So with that being said, let's see what you get out of the box, and then I will give you my first impressions on this guitar, what I found unboxing it, and then finally we're gonna plug it in, we're gonna play it and see how it sounds, see how it performs. So out of the box, you actually get a few things. We're gonna set this like that because I like to do things incorrectly. All right guys, so this actually comes with its own gig bag. It is not really padded, it's pretty much just a thin canvas bag, but again, if you're a beginner guitarist, you're buying a $199 guitar, it's nice to get something with the guitar that you can actually carry it around. It has backpack straps, so it is better than nothing. And in the pocket of the bag, we have another bag. And in this other bag, we have a separate set of replacement guitar strings. We have a strap. We actually have a guitar cable. That's a pretty nice touch. We have, very important here actually, these are the tools for adjusting both the truss rod and the bridge saddles, so those are gonna be important, don't lose those. And then finally, we have a fret wrap, which again, that's actually kind of a nice touch because to buy these separately, those are like 10 bucks, so cool, hang on to this. Okay guys, so taking a look at the specs of the guitar on the Donner website, the body is made of poplar. This is a solid body construction. We have a fixed bridge here, and this is kind of like a hip shot style bridge. It actually looks almost identical to a hip shot bridge. The neck on this is Canadian maple, and then the fretboard is Indian laurel. These are all pretty much tone woods and construction materials that you're gonna find on similarly priced guitars all the way up into the $500 and $600 range. This guitar has a 25.5 inch scale, so if you're tuning down at all, that scale is going to be a little nicer, especially if you're going down into the D or C sharp standard tunings. It's gonna work really well with that. If you go too much lower, then you're gonna wanna start looking at baritone scale guitars, but again, this is gonna do great from E standard all the way down into C sharp standard, maybe even a little bit lower. On the back, this is a bolt-on neck construction, so it is not set neck. That neck is bolted on there. Again, not surprising at all at that price point. Here's our electronics cavity cover, and I was actually surprised. I opened this up, and I'll put a shot up on the screen. This has all like quick connect pot system, electronic system in here. That is not something that I was expecting to find on a $199 guitar. I imagine that that just makes it quicker to assemble at the factory for the workers who put these together, which means that they can crank them out faster, which means the price is lower. On the front of the guitar, we have a dual humbucker setup, and we have a 1, 2, we've got a 3-way switch for your bridge, your combined, and your neck pickup, and then here we have a volume and a tone pot. These are not push-pull. There is no tapping or splitting going on with these pickups, so pretty straightforward there. And then on the back of the headstock, we have the Donner branded tuners. As far as the frets go, we have 24 frets total here, and then Donner puts these on their website as narrow tall frets, which I have never heard of narrow tall frets before. I would imagine that that's their way of saying jumbo, but these look pretty small in all honesty, so I definitely don't think that they're tall. They definitely don't fall into the jumbo category by any means. They're pretty small frets. And then moving to the nut, Donner actually lists this nut as bone on their website. I've never seen a black bone nut before, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that that is not accurate information. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but bone nuts are usually bone colored. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess that this is some sort of generic plastic. It could be graphite. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest, but I really don't think that it's bone. So yeah, that pretty much rounds out the spec sheet on this guitar. Moving on to my first impressions of the guitar out of the box. When I pulled it out of the box, first thing that I noticed was the fretboard was a little bit dry. So I went ahead and I got some footage of how it looked when I unboxed it, but I went ahead and added some mineral oil to the fretboard, and it actually soaked up a pretty large amount of the mineral oil, so the fretboard overall was pretty dry. But I've had this guitar in my house for about 2 weeks. I don't feel any fret sprout at all. It actually feels really comfortable on the neck, if I'm being 100% honest. Like it's a really comfortable, it's a thin profile. I would probably categorize it as a C-shaped neck profile. But yeah, we've got no fret sprout. Everything feels nice and even and comfortable, and I would actually even call this a rounded fretboard edge. It's not sharp by any means. It actually has a nice little roll to it. I have never owned a guitar with an Indian Laurel fretboard, and once you hit it with some oil, it actually darkens up nicely and has a pretty cool grain to it. The frets in the fretboard were also very, very dirty out of the box, which I found interesting. I've never had that happen before, but as I was applying the mineral oil and rubbing it into the fretboard, there was dirt that was coming off of the frets. There was dirt that was coming out of the fretboard, so I kind of rubbed it down pretty vigorously and did it a couple times, and honestly, the frets are nice and clean. The frets feel smooth as well. We will definitely, once we plug the guitar in, work our way up and down the fretboard in order to test for dead frets, but I will be honest with you guys, I didn't notice any. Now, on the fretboard, there actually is I took some video of it. It's harder to see now that the fretboard is darkened, but there's some tool marks here on the fretboard, and it looks like somebody accidentally gouged into the fretboard a little bit here when they were seating the frets. So a couple of, imperfections from the factory, from whoever was working on this guitar, just not being careful. But as far as imperfections out of the box, that is literally all that I have noticed. So if that's the worst that we're gonna run into on a $199 guitar, I'm not gonna complain about it. Moving on to the strings and the setup out of the box, the action was actually set up great, and the guitar is intonated. Was not expecting that. But the strings on this guitar were so thin and flimsy, they felt like wet noodles, even tuned all the way up to E standard. And on a 25.5 inch scale guitar, to be tuned up to E standard and still have the strings feel really, really floppy, they must have been an incredibly thin gauge. All I know is I tried to play them. I could not get the guitar to stay in tune with the stock strings because they were so loose. So if you are a beginner guitarist, one of the first things that you're gonna do, even on a more expensive guitar, is you're eventually going to get to a point where you are going to know how to set up your own guitars, or you're at least going to know what you want from a guitar setup. And if you are a beginner guitarist, I would absolutely recommend you taking this to a local guitar shop and having them set it up for you. So with all that being said, I went ahead and took those strings off and put a set of my preferred D'Addario 11-49 EXL strings on this thing. I tuned it up, gave it a quick setup, tuned it up again, checked the intonation. Everything on it is good to go. So honestly, let's go ahead, let's plug it in, and let's see how it sounds, because I have not done that yet. So you're gonna get my first impressions as they come. Let's do it! All right, guys, so we are currently hooked into the Donner Arena 2000. This is a cool little effects unit that I actually did a review on a couple of weeks ago. And honestly, I thought it was a great sounding little effects processor and amp modeling unit. Would actually make a great pair with this guitar if you're just getting into learning the instrument. You could hook it straight into your computer or pair it with a powered speaker, and you would have pretty much everything you would need to start playing guitar. And this unit was also used in the Donner and Berkeley event. I'll link to that down below in the description. I have no idea what it is, but they really wanted me to tell you that. So here I am. Alright guys, so I currently have the Donner Arena 2000 on a 5150 preset. This is going to be a good sounding metal preset that I created. We have the DMT-100 going straight into the unit, and here's what it sounds like. Alright, so right off the bat, it doesn't sound too bad. I don't think that I have the intonation nailed on that low E string. So let's play a little metal riff and see how it feels. Alright, so right off the bat, it actually feels pretty good. The action is fairly low. It's not super low, but I didn't spend a ton of time getting the setup dialed in, but for a basically out-of-the-box setup with a little adjustment on the truss rod for my added string tension with these heavier strings, feels pretty good. Let's see if we can locate any dead frets along the fretboard. Alright, so on the low E, we're good. Good on that string. All the frets ring out just fine. The fretboard actually feels nice and smooth. The frets themselves, a little rough. When I'm bending notes, I can definitely feel a little bit of resistance on the frets, so probably need to polish those up with steel wool and maybe a little bit of fret polish to get them to feel nice and smooth. Yeah, let's play a full-on riff and see if it stays in tune the entire time. Alright, so it seems like our low E fell back out a little bit there. I gotta say guys, I'm honestly impressed with the quality of this guitar for 200 bucks. I mean, the neck feels comfortable, the fret edges are not sprouting out and stabbing my fingers, the fretboard edges feel rolled, they feel smooth, this guitar almost kind of feels played in a little bit, and at $199, that is definitely not something that I would expect. Let's try a different model in the Arena 2000. Let's try the Friedman BE. Alright guys, I think that is going to do it for me today on the Donner DMT-100. Again, 199 bucks, you get a gig bag, you get a few accessories in the case. For the value proposition on this guitar, I actually think that it is surprisingly good. I was not expecting much from this guitar, to be completely honest with you guys, but it has pleasantly surprised me. And if you are a beginning guitarist looking to get into playing guitar and you want to get an electric metal-oriented first guitar, this would be a great choice at $199. Or if you're just looking for a mod project, I think that it's solid enough that you could throw some better pickups in it, maybe upgrade the electronics to something a little bit more notable, and swap out the nut and the tuners and have yourself a pretty decent little budget ripper here. So if you guys do want to check this guitar out for yourself, I will make sure to link it down below in the comments for you to do so. And of course, as always, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about this guitar? Do you think that it is a good value? Would you not touch it with a 10-foot pole? Always curious to see what you guys have to say about the items that I review. So make sure to leave a comment down below and I will meet you guys there to chat about it. If you liked the video, do me a huge favor, hit that like button on the way out and consider subscribing if you're not subscribed, because I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year and I'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Kyle here again, and we'll see you next time. You know what this wall is missing? Another amp. There we go.